I can't believe it's August already, but since it is August, it's a really good time for starting our flowering perennials, which will flower next year. The reason you start them now is that they will put on good growth while the weather is still warm. So they'll be a reasonable size by the time winter hits and they go dormant. Then in the spring will just supercharge their growth. They will already be established, and before you know it, they will be flowering. So let's look at some seeds that we can sow now in August for flowering next year. Don't forget, it's a really budget way to stock your garden because perennials will flower year after year. This means that for just a few pounds, you're going to be able to fill up your garden with gorgeous flowers that will attract all the wildlife and the pollinators, etc. And you will just have a gorgeous garden on a budget this time next year. So in this video, we're going to look at 10 seeds that you can sow in August for flowering perennials next year. And you can even use them as cut flowers so you can bring them in the house and make your house look beautiful too. So let's get into it. Number 1, Gypsophilia paniculata. Now this is a perennial Gypsophilia. Unlike the annual Gypsophilia you often see as a cut flower, the perennial Gypsophilia will keep coming back every year and flower every year, and you can still use it as a cut flower. It's often known as baby's breath due to the small cloud-like formations of flowers. It comes back every year, unlike the annual, which you'll have to sow every year, and it's really tough and hardy from zones 3 through to 9, so you can pretty much grow it wherever you live. And it ranges in colour from pink to white. Number 2 is Thalactrum, and it's actually very similar looking to baby's breath or Gypsophilia. It's lovely for growing in containers as well, and you can get it in a slightly broader range of colours than you can the Gypsophilia. Also, the flower heads vary, so they can be very cloudy and small like the Gypsophilia, or sometimes a little bit more open like you would see a fuchsia, although nowhere near as big as a fuchsia flower. It's often known as meadow rue as well, and it's another one that's fantastically hardy, so you can grow it through zones 3 to 9 again, and also you can use it as a cut flower. Number 3 is Aqualia. Aqualia is great for the pollinators, and it's the one with the kind of flat head of flowers that's clustered together. It's cultivated from what is quite a weedy looking plant that you often see in hedgerow borders around the UK and in meadows, but now you get different heights and a broad colour range from very bright pinks down to whites, gold, and the more antique-y, subtle pastel colours. It takes a while to get going, but once it does, it establishes very quickly and becomes huge in your garden. It will also spread and is super easy to propagate from. It's another one that's really hardy as well, from zones 3 to 9, so almost anyone can grow it and enjoy it, and it makes a great cut flower as well. Number 4 is Agistache, sometimes known as hyssop, so anise hyssop or giant hyssop, and also known as the hummingbird mint, depending on where you are in the world. Again, it makes another great cut flower, but I love it for its ability to attract the pollinators, and so that is why I grow it, and I'm going to be growing lots this year. Again, it comes in a wide range of colours to suit any garden and heights and sizes, and you can prune it to keep it to a size that's suitable for your garden, and you can grow it in containers. Like many of the perennials I mentioned in this video, once it's established and it's become a solid, strong plant, you can propagate from it too. Although this one is hardy, it will vary on the variety. Some varieties are hardy to zone 3, some are only hardy to zone 5, so do double check your seed packet and variety before you commit to growing them to make sure that it's going to survive in your zone. Number 5 is hollyhock, a classic English cottage garden flower, and boy, we have them all over this village, everywhere, on waste ground and in people's gardens, and at this time of year they are just beautiful. In fact, they're just going over now and making their seed pods. Once you have these established in your garden, they will self-seed and you will more or less have them for life. They come back every year as a staple in this village. You can propagate it from basil cuttings once it's established, and you can collect the seeds as easy as pie every year when it's finished flowering. Of all the plants I've mentioned so far in this video, this one probably has the widest range of colours available, and even styles. You can get the double flowers, the pom-pom varieties, and the very open traditional variety of hollyhock. So the world is your oyster when it comes to choosing your hollyhocks. It's super hardy, so you can pretty much all grow it. It's hardy from zones 3 through to 9, and ideally you start it now so that it will get big fat leaves and a good rootstock, which will take off in the spring to give you those lovely spires around July next summer. Number 6 is Delphinium. This is probably the most tricky to get established. It'll germinate pretty well if you start it now in August. The toughest problem you're going to have with Delphinium, especially the young plants, is the slugs. I've just had all mine eaten by slugs. So I would recommend using a water bottle cloche when you are getting them established, just to protect them from the slugs. They don't really need it. They're hardy, but it does deter the slugs somewhat from noshing your plant. Like hollyhocks, it's a quintessentially English cottage garden plant that also makes a beautiful cut flower. It comes again in a variety of colours and styles. And once established, of course, it will come back every year. It's hardy down to zone 3, so cold isn't a problem. Where you get the problem is when you get too hot of a summer. So anything over a zone 7 is going to be problematic. Anything over a zone 8, probably forget it. If you're zone 7 or 8 on the cusp of being that hot summer, then maybe consider giving it some afternoon shade to protect it from the worst of the hot sun. Number 7 is Aqualia, sometimes known as Columbine or Granny's Bonnet, another English cottage garden favourite that is also used in early spring bouquets, and that is why it's a good one to start now, because it is one of the earlier flowering plants and it will flower around the same time as your forget-me-nots and some of your later tulips and alliums. They come in lots of different colours and varieties and also different stem lengths, although location can also determine stem length. It starts really small and can take maybe a couple of years to really bulk up into a decent plant, but once it does, it will just form these beautiful clusters, these gorgeous flowering clusters that the early pollinators really love. They're little bell shapes, they're so cute, they look good in cut flower bouquets. They self-seed readily as well, so once you have them established in the garden, they will always be in the garden. Mine have survived through this really severe drought that we had this year in the spring and early summer, but they also do equally well in our more typical climate, which is quite rainy and cool in the spring. They are really, really tough, hardy, unfussy plants. They are hardy from zones 3 to 9 again, so almost anyone can grow them. Number 8 is Campanula or Canterbury Bells. There are some very low growing Canterbury Bells, Campanula, but I like to grow the big stems that you can also use in cut flowers. They look great in bouquets. They have big bells. They come in a wide range of colours, but you need to start them now so they can bulk up and grow enough foliage and root so that they can take off in the spring. Once you have them, they will self-seed and come back every year. Although they are a short-lived perennial, mine come back. They seem to self-seed, no problem in the garden. And they produce volumes of seeds, so you can collect the seeds, which means you will always have more Canterbury Bells that you can sow each year as you go until you fill up your garden with them if you choose to do so. It's another great one that the bees love. It's great seeing the bees crawl into those bells. It's just another level of enjoyment and entertainment in your garden. The ones I grow tend to be about a metre tall, maybe slightly less, so they're good for the middle of the border. And again, just have that classic English cottage garden appearance that is multi-use as a cut flower. Probably the broadest range of hardiness of any of the plants I've mentioned so far. They can be grown in a cold winter in a zone 3 right up to the heat of the summer in California, like a zone 10. So anyone can grow them and enjoy these beautiful flowers. Number 9 is Sweet William. It's a short-lived perennial. It has beautiful cottage garden appearance with these big flat sort of flower heads full of individual tiny little frilly flowers. Of all the flowers and perennials I've mentioned so far in this video, this is the most typical cut flower one. It lasts forever in a vase. It's amazing. It also self-seeds, so once you have it established in the garden, it will come back every year. It also prolifically produces seeds after flowering, so you can collect these and you will then always have a constant supply of seeds for more Sweet William. In other words, you will never run out. You get them in a variety of colours, from sort of the basic pinks through to sort of more jewel coloured flower heads with the white frill around them. Get them established. They'll go dormant over the winter, but then they'll take off in spring and flower nice and early around June. They will repeat flower if you cut them back, which of course if you're harvesting them for cut flowers, it's great because what you're doing is you're encouraging it to grow more flowers, and it self-seeds readily, which tells you that it's very easy to grow. If it can self-seed without any care in your garden, in your pathway, I've got one growing in my pathway right now, then you know it's going to germinate easily if you take care of it and start it now in August. It's another one that the pollinators love, and of course the bigger the variety of flowers you have in your garden, the more pollinators you will attract into your garden, especially if you are organic. And it's another super hardy one. It's hardy from zones 3 through to 9, so almost anyone can grow it. And then last but not least is Foxglove or Digitalis. Now, there are apparently some foxgloves you can grow the same year, i.e. you can start them in spring or early winter and they will flower the same year. But really and truly, it's a bit of a stretch to do that. You might as well just start them now, let them bulk up those leaves. They are technically a biennial anyway, so their natural habit is to grow now, to germinate now, get nice and bulky, get some nice green growth and some good roots. Then they will go dormant in the winter. And of course, it's the following spring they will take off and then they will produce those flowers early to midsummer. Another one that will prolifically produce seed as well. So once you have them, you'll be able to harvest those seeds and have them forever. But they will also self-seed. So if you do get them established in your garden, even though they're a biennial and technically will die out, they will just keep self-seeding and sowing more of themselves until you have a garden full of them. There are different varieties. There are, from whites now through to the apricots. And of course, then there's the classic kind of wildflower pink, which is the original Digitalis. And the pollinators absolutely adore these flowers. Also make great cut flowers. You just cannot lose with the Digitalis, the Foxglove. It is probably one of the most popular cottage garden plants that there is. So I hope this video helped you and gave you some ideas. Also, by starting some seeds now, not only does that give you more established seeds that will flower earlier next year, it breaks up the whole sowing period that often can become quite hectic in the spring and the late winter. Also, you're going to be doing most of your annuals in the winter, so it's good to start having some solid perennials that can fill out your borders for next year and be the structure really of your borders, and to just be reliable, repeat flowering plants that you don't have to worry about once they're established in your garden. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends, and I'll see you again in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.